Hello and welcome everybody to News Effect. This is a Flickr Effect podcast where each week we count down the top 10 news items of the week. My name is David Lott. Joining me are Bobby Jackson and Michelle Curry. How you doing, guys?
Good. What's up? Let's talk some news.
Let's talk some news.
There's news.
There's lots of news.
I'm impressed you whittled it down to 10. There's a lot of news because of Comic-Con. Because of Comic-Con, there's a ridiculous amount of news.
Not only was it difficult to whittle it down to 10, but it was difficult to put it in an order. We count these down 10 to 1, and I'm like, this could go in 2, this could be 3, this could be 5. Fuck it.
You just threw it in there. You didn't even pay attention.
No, it was not easy. Okay.
Good job, boss.
So yeah, real quick, we're recording this Saturday night, July 30th. And we're going to count down the top 10 news items of the week. We're going to include some stuff from Comic-Con from last weekend. And you guys have anything before we get started?
No. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Number 10.
So we all know that a Mary Poppins sequel is on the way from Disney. And we got some casting news this week. Meryl Streep has been casted in the Mary Poppins sequel. She will be playing the role of Poppins' cousin, Topsy. That's a supporting role that if you're only really familiar with the original film, you're probably not familiar with because it wasn't in the original film. But
from the books? I never read the books,
yes.
So I don't know.
Same here. I haven't either. And I haven't seen the movie. So
you know what? Let's just move past that. I can't even. Don't even.
I have fully admitted that on here many times.
I know.
Oh, I know.
I feel like I'll get around to it one of these days.
Oh, that's
you
right.
haven't seen it either?
That's right. I'm not alone.
Oh my god.
We've talked about
I know.
this as well.
We have. I just forgot. But no, we have talked about that. Oh god. Thanks, Bobby.
The bailout.
My chest kind of hurts right now. My god.
I feel like I'm the U.S. government and you're the banks, and I just bailed you out.
Thank you, buddy.
No problem.
Sweet.
Happy to help.
Oh god.
I get the wrath of Michelle will be at both of us, not just me.
Yeah, it's spread out.
You guys, this is one of my most beloved childhood films of all time. It's actually one of my most beloved films of all time. I can't. God, my heart. Oh god.
Well, what would you do if I said that I haven't actually seen Beauty and the Beast either?
The animated film? You've never seen Beauty and the Beast? See, that hurts more for me. Wow.
You're toying with me now, right, Bobby?
See, now don't you feel better about me not seeing Mary Poppins?
You're toying with me now, right? Bobby, awesome. Please tell me.
No, he's really not. I'm sure he's not.
I mean, I've probably seen 90% of it.
Oh, well, then what's that? How have you seen 90% of it? I have
tears welling up in my eyes. I'm so sad for you right now.
You're sad for me.
No, I'm serious.
That I haven't seen all of Beauty and the Beast. No, first
you said you had not seen Beauty and the Beast. That is different from saying you haven't.
I was messing with you mostly. I mean, I've seen it.
Oh my god!
But not
jeez, Bobby, you got me so scared.
But not. I honestly have not seen it from beginning to end. I think I've probably seen it from, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes in to the end.
I'm so sad for you right now.
Whatever.
My heart is bleeding for you. I can't.
Well, I'm sorry, Michelle. I mean, my heart bleeds for you at things that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
All right. It's about Meryl Streep and Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Back to that.
So Meryl Streep has been cast in Mary Poppins. There's really not much to say about it. The film is due out in theaters on December 25th of 2018. She'll be joining Emily Blunt, of course, that we've talked about before. So
just a cool reunion for them.
Yes.
In a way. And then, that's cool.
Of course, they were in Devil Wears Prada before.
Yeah, to see Emily kind of be in the lead role versus it'll be a cute little kind of.
This will be a gigantic film for Disney, of course.
It's going to be so huge.
Yes,
anyway.
So huge. So anyway, that's our number 10 item. Moving on,
number 9.
Are you guys fans of The Rocketeer? Did you?
Okay. I used to love this movie when I was a kid. So I remember when it used to come on the Disney Channel, and it would be this huge thing for weeks out. The Disney Channel had commercials 5 Saturdays from now, The Rocketeer will be on. We're gonna put it on, and it was and then, years later, it was constantly rotating on the Disney Channel. But like when I was younger, it was a huge event. Oh God, I used to love The Rocketeer. And yeah, I used to love it. Well, so I braved it. A little over a year ago, I was like, hey, look what's on, I want to say Netflix. Let's watch the Rocketeer. Let's see how this bad boy holds up. And it's it's a little rough. It's kind of it's not great. I will say though, like in rewatching it, like you're watching it and I'm watching the storyline. I'm like, there's something here. There's something here to this story. There's something about the character and the I don't know, just the adventure sagas, like, from original serials that used to be on the radios, and just to see it in this kind of format is great. And it's exciting. And I like that there is some meat there that they obviously didn't get into, but it's good. And it's got good bones. It just needs more body. And it's very evident as you rewatch this as an adult. And you're like, wow, there's some really bad acting in there. Like, the list goes on, but it's got good bones. And so I was kind of excited at first about this news, but I'll let you guys
Well,
continue
real quick,
on that.
Bobby, you've seen the original. Did you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna date myself here, but and by date myself, I mean like give myself a full course meal and maybe even make out afterwards. But I have seen this movie in the theater.
He was a grown adult when he saw this in the theater. Is what he's trying to say.
I get it.
Whereas I was a child watching
Yes.
this from home on the Disney Channel.
I was somewhere in the middle.
I think initially the first time I saw it, I think I did see it in the movies. I'm sure we saw it on like a Saturday matinee on some military post somewhere out in the world. But yeah.
Anyway, Bobby, you were saying.
Yeah, I've seen it in the theater, and I remember liking it a lot because at the time, it was the closest thing to a superhero movie that there was, and I can't remember the main actor who was in it, and I think I remember seeing that guy who was the main actor name come up, and I was like, oh, that was him, because at the time I don't think he was someone that was
Billy Campbell?
That? Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, he wasn't, anyone in particular. And then I remember seeing later on, and they were like, oh, Billy Campbell, he starred in The Rocketeer. I was like, oh, that was him. I didn't even know. But I just remember, I think Timothy Dalton was in it, if I remember correctly. And I did know. And I loved the movie back in the day. And that's why I think I was excited around the time when they were making the Captain America movie, because they had the same director.
Yeah, Joe Johnston.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, sweet. He can definitely handle period and be able to make that look the way it should for Captain America. So I was pretty excited. And I honestly felt like when I heard the news about this new Rocketeer, I was like, who's this for at this point? Because when I liked it, it was because, again, it was the closest thing to a superhero movie that there was. But now that we have actual superhero movies, it's like it seems like it's too late. I mean, I do understand that it's a new angle since it's a sequel and it has an African American woman picking up the mantle of the Rocketeer, and so it's a different take on it. But at the same time, it's still the basics of what you're getting from that makes it exciting. How do you present that in a way that makes it cool when we have movies where you can see anything goes pretty much in a way that makes it look cool? So I don't know how I
You
feel
guys, nobody's mentioned the only actor or actress that really mattered for this movie.
And it was like her second major
Jennifer
film.
Connelly, yes.
Oh,
And I definitely
God.
remember
Is she gonna be
wanting
in
to
this
see the
one?
movie because of her.
There's no word of that. Yeah, I mean, this isn't like
I know.
pre-production. But I mean, yeah, this movie came out in '91.
way
I was
hot
like
in that
going into high school, and I was holy shit for Jennifer Connelly
She
at the
was
time.
hot.
She was hot. In
There
this
was the
movie.
white dress she wore in that film.
Yes.
She looked amazing with her raven dark hair, and it was all curled under 1940s. Classic Hollywood. It was super hot.
It's really the only reason to watch this movie. I mean, let's
honestly,
Let's be
Yeah.
honest. It really.
But look, hey, I would say, even though she was amazingly hot back then, she's no slacker today
Oh,
either.
hell no.
Oh
still
God,
say,
no.
I still say Paul Bettany is a very lucky man. I think
Shit, are you
that's-
kidding
Yes.
me? Not at all. I'm doubting that.
Lord, no.
yes.
It was one of those things. Like
accept-
she was, it's really her second. I want to say it was like her second really big major film that she did. And she was like, she was so very, girl next door in Labyrinth, and she was still really cute and hot and pretty. But in this one, she was a little bit older, so she really got to put on the like sex kitten Hollywood bombshell stuff, and so she was hot in this film.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, there's just no other word for it. She was hot in this film, dude.
But yeah, Bobby, you've already kind of hinted at what the news item is that, yeah, there is apparently a sequel that is in production or in pre-production at Disney. They are looking to do a kind of sequel reboot on this. It's interesting. The producers, some names you might recognize for different reasons. First of all, Brigham Taylor, who produced The Jungle Book with Jon Favreau, apparently is producing this along with Blake Griffin of the Los Angeles Clippers and Ryan Khalil of the Carolina Panthers over in the NFL. Apparently, the two of them are partners in a venture called Mortal Media, and they approached Taylor with the idea for the reboot. So I'm going to quote directly from the Hollywood Reporter here when it comes to the description of what this reboot will be about. I'm going to read right from them. It says, the new take keeps the story in a period setting and offers a fresh view on the characters, set 6 years after the original Rocketeer, and after Secord has vanished while fighting the Nazis. An unlikely new hero emerges, a young African-American female pilot who takes up the mantle of the Rocketeer in an attempt to stop an ambitious and corrupt rocket scientist from stealing jetpack technology and what could prove to be a turning point in the Cold War. So yeah, this might be happening. It's early yet. Who knows if it actually will. But it looks like a Rocketeer sequel / reboot is in the works over at Disney.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's early yet.
hard to say.
It's so. I mean, we're just going off of a small description. This is the kind of thing, at least if you ask me, is like, oh, we could see a trailer and be like, holy shit, this looks awesome. Or this could be like, come on, this is kind of gimmicky and stupid or something. Who knows? It's early, but I will say, I mean, I other than having probably a young love affair with Jennifer Connelly, it's not like Rocketeer was like a big thing for me. So hearing this news isn't like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like I'm kind of indifferent to it. I'm open-minded to it as well, but I also don't really care.
I think the reason I liked it so much when I was a kid is like what Bobby was saying. It was really the only kind of like comic book action hero movie that was really kind of coming out. Like there was that horrific Dick Tracy one that came out, and then this
horrific,
one.
What? No, I know it was terrible.
I was like, are we really going to have this discussion?
I think I was so young when that came out.
I was
that
so
I was
young
just
when that
like,
came out,
oh,
too.
it's whatever.
No, I was really young, and Dick Tracy. I mean, when I was a kid, I liked Dick Tracy too. I mean, I'll admit it. I liked it. I thought it was cool. But again, it's that time frame. We really didn't have very much to go on, and it was funny because in Hollywood at that time, like it was like they were pulling from the old serials from the 30s and 40s, which is so awesome. But they just were done horribly. There was the Dick Tracy, there was the Rocketeer, the Shadow, that was not good, and then the Phantom, that was even worse. Oh God, that was even worse. But at the core, these are 4 people that in their serials they were spectacular. Like it was just the beginning of the superhero kind of, in a way, superhero kind of action kind of thing that we were looking for, and that's what we had in the early 90s. And so I took it as a kid and I enjoyed the shit out of it, and yeah, in comparison now it's really lacking in a lot of ways, but at the core I think it's a good storyline. Whether or not this, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, and so I guess we'll just have to see if this actually comes to fruition or not. What's happening?
All right, but moving on.
Number 8.
Also in Disney news, if you will, the New York Daily News is reporting that it looks like Disney is kind of keeping it secret, but they are holding out hope that they might actually do Han Solo kind of trilogy with their films. They have a source telling them that when they signed Alden Ehrenreich to a contract, that they actually signed him to a 3-picture deal. And they have a quote here from a source. I'll read that. It says, quote, "They feel that his character has the right potential to become a central figure in several movies. They're keeping things under wraps at the moment, but the deal is that he has signed for at least 3 films." So yeah, we might be getting more young Han Solo than we originally thought, but I'm sure that all depends, if this is true, on how the first film does.
Yeah. I like the actor a lot. Alden
Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich, yeah.
I like him a lot. Right?
I know it's, yeah. I think that's the best way I was. Yeah, Ehrenreich. Yeah, I like the kid. Like, I don't know. There's something about him. I feel like he's going to go places. And so seeing him in this role, I think is spectacular. And I guess we'll see how it all kind of pans out. But that'd be really cool. If like this first one goes really well, yeah. Shoot, yeah. Let's do more.
Bobby, any thoughts?
I don't know. When I heard the news, it was just kind of like, why? Like, I thought we were only, when you were doing the lineage of the Skywalker films, I thought these anthology films were supposed to be one and dones. Like, why would they do sequels? I mean, I get why, but that to me seems like then you're shorting another story that could be told. Like, for me, ultimately, I just want to see an Old Republic film, something that takes place way back in the day. And It seems like if you're talking about doing a trilogy of Han Solo films, and we don't know that that's the case. Maybe they're just saying he's signed to be in 3 movies, and it could be other characters' movies. We don't know the parameters of it yet. But if it was to be that he gets 3 actual Han Solo films to himself, then it's like, I don't know that I want to see that many Han Solo movies. It's like, I want to see some other movies. If that's taking up your production time, as far as being able to film these movies, and you're only getting so many a year, then that seems like you're pushing something else that much further out because you're doing these spin-off movies for Han Solo. So I don't know yet. I want to see what they really say this is and pertains to, because it could just, as I was saying, just be him showing up in another film that they do, like a bounty hunter film or something like that, and then that's fine. But
right,
yeah,
and another character's like quote unquote origin story film that they might spin off of.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of outlets that aren't even picking up this news, and I think there's a good reason for it. I mean, we're talking about it here, and I think it's interesting, but at the same time, the way I read it is, Disney signs him with the option basically of holding him to maybe a couple more films.
Right.
Just because maybe this film ends up being huge and they find a way to,
Disney's just covering
him.
Their bases.
That's how I look at it. I really don't read too much into it, like, is there really like a plan in the back room at Disney that, we're going to do a trilogy of Han Solo films? I really don't see that happening. I think they're mainly just, like you said, covering their bases. Like, if this guy's awesome as Han Solo and everyone falls in love with him and everyone's dying to see more of it, then we'll find a way to get this guy in more movies, of course,
Got in the back pocket.
But, so they've got him at the ready. And I mean, and I've said, many times in this podcast, and I'm not a fan of this at all. I would rather not see another Han Solo movie, period. As much as I like this guy, and I think when it comes to, if you're going to cast a young Han Solo, sure, I'm all for Alden Ehrenreich being the guy. But in the end, if I had a choice, we wouldn't be having this film. Like, I still don't like the idea, but that's just me. I like the mystery of Han Solo. I don't want to know a backstory of Han Solo. I'm good with Han Solo the way we know him in the Star Wars films, and I don't want to see any more. Like, there's plenty of a million other stories, like you just said, Bobby, Old Republic stuff we could be doing in the Star Wars world. I don't need to see more Han. I don't need more, like, how he came to be kind of shit. But with that said, it's happening. So I got to live with it. And, if there's a guy to play the role, I'm all for this guy doing it. So hopefully it's a good movie. Yeah. But, do I want to see even more of it? Hell no, I don't. Like, I don't even want to see this one. So
and I think that's just playing to the masses. They're not trying to continue keeping the core. They're trying to get people that enjoy Star Wars but aren't like hardcore Star Wars people. These are people who are like, yeah, it's a Star Wars movie. Of course I'll go see it. But they don't like live and breathe it. You know what I mean? And so that's what they're doing. That's why they're doing the storyline, is so they can continue to retain the people that like Star Wars.
Right.
Not like you and Bobby. Like, they know you're going to be stuck with them forever. They're like, suckers.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways.
Moving on.
More Star
Number
Wars.
7.
Speaking of Han Solo, there's been rumors that Alden Ehrenreich's version of Han Solo may appear in Rogue One. That has apparently been completely debunked. Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, spoke with Extra, and he said in no uncertain terms that Han Solo is not in the film. He said, quote, "I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, but I think I should. I can put it to bed. Han Solo is not in this movie." And if that wasn't enough for you, Kathleen Kennedy also came out to say, she gave a very firm answer to say that, no, I confirm that he's not in the film. So,
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. And by the way, while we're talking about it, Kathleen Kennedy also said that, because there's also been rumors about Hayden Christensen apparently possibly appearing in Rogue One. She said also, no, that is not true. I can confirm that he is not in it. So no Han Solo in Rogue One. No Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader in Rogue One.
This is a win-win situation in my mind, both ways.
Sure.
I think it's good both ways. It's fine.
Yeah, because to me, I think the problem with I think honestly, it sounds, as weird as this might sound, I would have accepted Hayden Christensen being in Rogue One more so than having Ehrenreich in this. Is that how you say it? Ehrenreich?
Ehrenreich?
Ehrenreich in this, because it's just, it would feel weird given the proximity of time in which Rogue One takes place to A New Hope, and when you first see Han Solo, the character of Han Solo,
Right.
Him not looking like Harrison Ford would just be jarring to me, and seeing him within that time frame. So I don't want him to be, in there at all, to be able to have that frame of reference to be like, hey, if I'm watching New Hope and then this is like a few months prior to
it's
when
a little
that takes
too
place.
close to A New Hope.
Yeah. So it's good that he's not in it.
Absolutely. I agree. Moving on.
Number 6.
While we're debunking rumors, there have also been rumors when it comes to Suicide Squad and Joker being Jason Todd. If you're not familiar with Jason Todd, he was Robin at one point, and he was killed by the Joker in the comics. There has been a lot of people speculating that the Joker in this film could actually be Jason Todd. I guess some people feel like they've analyzed his tattoos and shit and been like, oh yeah, like this, because of this tattoo, they feel like this is happening. Well, anyway, David Ayer, the director of Suicide Squad, was speaking with WSVN in Miami, and they had actually asked him what he thought was the most ridiculous rumor about Suicide Squad. So they actually asked him directly about this rumor. But he did answer with this one. He said, he answered with that the Joker is Jason Todd. It ain't the case. He's not. He basically just, said straight up, it's not happening. He is not the Joker. So they actually did end up asking him, by the way, about the reshoots that apparently have been happening to add more humor to the film. He did say in response to that, I don't think you can do that, he explained. Because it's like what you've got a scene and all of a sudden dudes are cracking jokes and then you're back into the same old scene. It doesn't work like that. The movie was always funny. The movie was a lot of fun, and the studio gave me more resources to make it even better. So he also seemed to kind of respond to the fact that the reshoots weren't really what we had been hearing. So, yeah, that's what's going on with that.
And we'll find out very soon about this whole film. I mean, in days. Oh, God, in days.
Oh, God, it's so sad.
Oh, my God, I'm so happy it's finally coming. I'm like, Friday. Friday's happening. Friday's happening. It's literally days away. I mean, we are so close. Like, oh, God. It's like the 100-meter dash at this point. Like, I'm like, oh, my God, we're so close. We're so close to the finish line. It's almost here.
Bobby, sorry, it sounded like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, in regards to the reshoots, we kind of got word just within the last maybe day or two of what one of those things would have or was probably pertained to in regards to the reshoots. And it's spoilerish, so I won't say it, but it definitely seems like that was one of the things that was part of the reshoot, what they just had announced in as far as the Suicide Squad movie. So, yeah, I could see how there's a lot of truth in what he's saying in terms of adding certain things as opposed to changing a lot of what was already there. And trying to change the tone because it would make it a little bit harder to connect the scene from the previous scene to the scene right after it. If there's all of a sudden you drop some humor in one of the scenes, it just would make it disjointed as the film
Right.
would progress. But going back to the Jason Todd thing, it's interesting that people or some people have dismissed it out of hand and said it's ridiculous or crazy and everything. But honestly, it never felt like it was crazy to me because of the idea of what how different this movie was in general with Batman v Superman and the changes that were being made wholesale in regards to how Lex Luthor was. So to me it was like, okay, it's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't put it past Zack Snyder and everyone at what they're doing over there at DC for these films because it was so off kilter from just what in the first place that I could see them trying to go in that route. So the fact that they said it's not the case, that's fine with me. I mean, I'm glad that it's not, and that the Joker stands as his own character, and is not just transformed from a different character. That's perfectly fine. But I wondered, like, do you know how why the Joker killed Jason Todd in the actual comics, David? Are you familiar with that story?
Do I know why?
Yeah, or how that all came about?
It's been a while since I read that, so I'll fully admit that I'm not as familiar as I should be.
Well, I remember that was during the time I was actually collecting Batman, and it was the only other Robin we had known at that time was Dick Grayson,
Right.
and he's most people's Robin if you've been reading comics long enough, and that once he went on and became and spread his wings, no pun intended, to become Nightwing, there was a new Robin, and he was this street kid that was stealing the wheels off the Batmobile at one point, and Batman caught him, and he eventually becomes like his mentor and trains him. But throughout the whole comic book community, no one liked this character. No one liked Jason Todd. So at some point, DC really started to feel the fury of people not liking this character, and they ended up doing this thing where in the back of one of the issues of Batman, they had a thing where they were going to kill off Jason Todd, the Robin, and you could vote as to how he would die. You could vote as to whether he was going to die or not, and then the votes determined if they were going to kill off the character. And obviously, everybody voted to kill the character off, and that's how the story became that they used the Joker as the tool in which they killed off that character. And of course, they bring him back as the Red Hood because it's comics and all that good stuff. But at the time, he was dead for quite some time when the Joker killed him off. So it was all because no one liked the character, and they made it into a sort of almost a gimmick and letting people vote to decide whether they should keep the character around or not. So it's kind of funny that even beyond that, he's sort of permeated through the years and been able to kind of sustain some level of notoriety, and that's sort of been forgotten in the wash within all this time. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing with that character, and who knows if we'll ever see him in this DC universe because they've never even mentioned Dick Grayson yet, so let alone to mention Jason Todd. But I am curious as to where that legacy goes and if they'll explore that part of the Batman lore.
Yeah, I mean, I've even been a part of that in terms of being a fan of like the Red Hood stuff since I came back to reading comics. Red Hood and the Outlaws, once they did the New 52, I really enjoyed, and Red Hood has moved on to other stuff since then. But yeah, I like this stuff a lot, and I agree with you. I don't think it was like out of the question that they could do something. I don't think it would have been that crazy for them to do something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even though I don't think it would have been crazy, I didn't think that was what they did.
Right.
So yeah, that seems to be the case. That's not what they did here. So anyway, moving on.
Number 5.
We all know that the next Avengers films are going to be about the Infinity Stones. When Marvel announced what the next basically 2 Avengers films were going to be, they had titled them Avengers Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. Well, we now have an official title for what is really Avengers 3, and that is basically Avengers Infinity War. So it will not be part 1. For right now, it looks like the studio is calling the 4th Avengers film Untitled Avengers. It doesn't have a name yet. But yeah, the directors, Anthony and Joe Russo, had previously said, back when they were doing publicity for Captain America Civil War, that this would most likely not be the case, that these films would be just called Part 1 and Part 2. They had indicated that they would probably have very different titles because, quote, the movies are 2 very different movies. It's misleading. So now we know for sure that the 3rd Avengers film is indeed Avengers Infinity War. And then we'll wait to see what the 4th film's going to be.
It's just so funny. It's like however many months ago that they said that it wasn't going to be called Part 1 and Part 2. And then they were like, so we don't really have a name. And then now, like a week after Comic-Con, it kind of gets sort of just thrown into the news cycle that, oh, we're just going to call it Avengers Infinity War. So we essentially just dropped the Part 1 at the end of this movie.
Right.
And now it's just Infinity War. So
if you had to guess, if this is Infinity War, what the fuck is 4 going to be?
I don't know. That's what makes
Is that the changing of the guard?
No, it's
I would imagine it's still going to be Thanos and the original guard oriented, like basically kind of the end of them. Not that they're going to die, but
I mean, honestly, I think they should call it without knowing anything about what they're doing.
Right, exactly. Or it's complete speculation.
Just throw it out there, Bobby.
Complete speculation. So if this one is called Avengers Infinity War, then I would imagine if they're keeping it in line with what the theme of it is, they would probably, well, honestly, I would have flipped the titles, but they would probably just call the next one Avengers Infinity Gauntlet or something.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say, but I would have flipped it.
Yes,
I would have thought this next film would have been Avengers, the Infinity Gauntlet, and then the 4th film would have been Avengers Infinity War.
Which would make sense.
Right.
Yeah, but who knows?
But why would they do that?
Right.
Yeah, we don't know what they're doing, and we don't even know what if there's supposed to be 2 different movies, which that throws me off every time I hear them say that. It's like I don't understand why they're 2 different movies and they come out a year apart, which means they're filming them back to back. But I don't know. I don't really get how they're not. I don't know. So it's like it's really hard for me to wrap my head around what they're trying to do with these 2 movies and how they're supposed to either not fit together or fit together. I don't know. So it's just very head scratching on their concept of these 2 movies.
Completely agreed. Moving on.
Number 4.
We found out at Comic-Con in Hall H while we were there during the Marvel panel that a rumor that has been circulating around for a little while is true. That at Disneyland in California, that the Tower of Terror ride will now be turning into a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction. It will be titled Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Boo.
There were a lot of boos in Hall H when it happened.
It was. I'm not personally booing it.
I'm not either. I really don't care.
The fact that people did boo when they heard that.
It's funny. Like if they had announced me being someone from Orlando and having worked at Disney World, and because there were rumors at a time that, and when this rumor was out there, that the same thing could happen at the Tower of Terror here. And then it gets into this whole thing about the rights and being able to use Marvel characters in Orlando because of Universal. But the thing is, Guardians of the Galaxy apparently wouldn't fall into that.
No.
So that could have been possible. Now, yeah, if they had announced that indeed they were going to take the Tower of Terror here in Orlando at Hollywood Studios and change it to a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, I mean, I probably would have been like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I feel like there would have been a riot. Quite honestly, like fires would have started in Hall H. It would have been just madness. Like. It's crushing that they're doing it to Disneyland, but I think everybody, because it was originally in Disney World, that's what everybody associates with it. I mean, for God's sakes, it anchors an entire section of the park. Like, it would have, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the reaction too, especially in Hall H, I mean, for the most part, I think the majority of the people in there were probably from California.
Right.
Much more familiar with Disneyland than they are with Disney World. And maybe if that had been announced, who knows how the reaction would have been. But I feel like when it comes to Tower of Terror here, yeah, it's been around way longer than the one in California. And it feels much more like an institution at this park than it does at Disneyland. Okay. And to change a ride like that would have been like, whoa. And for me, someone from here, and I look at the one in California that's it's newer, it's a little different, hasn't been around as long.
True.
When they announced this, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't care. But I also don't go to Disneyland every day, so I mean, who the hell am I to say? But yeah, I don't know. I don't have quite the reaction to it like I would had they announced like a change here at Hollywood Studios.
I mean, as far as rides go in the Disney theme park world, it's a pretty major ride. It's definitely. I mean, it's not like it's a complex ride. It's just, as far as the theming goes, it's themed so well, and it tells such a great story. Mm-hmm. And people they have very fond, strong memories of this ride at any of the parks. And so, I will admit, for them to say they're doing this to California, I have the same reaction. I'm like, it's a much younger ride there. I don't know, but I don't think the theming is as strong there as it is here.
No, like I don't think it is. I mean, having ridden both, I'm definitely not as big of a fan as at the one in California. So I also don't see it as a big loss like I would here.
It's, like I said, it's the anchor for that entire corridor of the park here in Orlando, Florida. Like, it literally, there's an entire section of the park that is themed in that time frame, and it literally pulls the whole storyboard of that section of the park together. Like, it's like, to redo something like that here, they would be redoing almost that entire section of the park, I would think. Like, it's so iconic.
It would make this location. The Guardians of the Galaxy ride, if they had done it here, would be very out of place.
Oh my god!
You know, it would feel very odd, and you got this whole strip of like old Hollywood ending in a Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Right.
I feel like, what the fuck is this?
I mean, even the rock and roller coaster at the end is kind of out of place, but everybody kind of ignores it.
But it's also kind of out of the way.
Right, Tower overlooks the whole thing. But I mean, for California to do this in their studio section, I think makes perfect sense. To me, it does. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of a cop-out that they're not creating a new ride. They're basically re-theming a ride. And that kind of upsets me. I'm like, really? You guys can't even, like... I know you got the money to make a new ride. So for them to just basically re-theme it...
Yeah, but I also would imagine it's timing. I mean, they want this out when the next film comes out, which is next summer. And it's definitely going to be easier to take an existing building and attraction and
retheme it easier way
than build completely new. Though I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with this time turnaround. So to continue with the story real quick, it appears that Disney has announced that the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror in California will close in January of 2017. This new ride should open that summer. They're taking, I'm sure, the same, they're basically retheming it, but still, that seems like a pretty quick turnaround, especially considering the artwork I've seen for the outside of the building and, the stuff that they're probably going to do inside. I mean, there's no doubt that they can do it, and apparently they are going to do it. But I will say, like, reading that, I'm like, oh, that seems pretty fast. But that's just me.
I guess that's why I was trying to ask, but you guys kind of answered my question with you talking back and forth about it in terms of, I didn't understand the source of the boo, like if it was because people were mad that like you guys were saying, that they were retheming a ride that already exists. So it was like it wasn't a new attraction, or it wasn't something that people hadn't experienced before, or if it was because it was something that people loved and they're taking it away and making something else out of it. I didn't know.
In my opinion, that reaction, which I thought was interesting while we were in Hall H, and you don't hear many boos in there.
No,
Right.
And there were definitely, it wasn't like a huge whole room boo, but there were definitely like outskirts of people, more in the back, that definitely booed at it. And my reaction to it was that they're taking a ride that they probably really enjoy and removing it. And it really isn't even that old of a ride, like you just said a little while ago, Michelle. And I will say, for Disney fans of the parks, people tend to latch on to certain rides. And, hey, if it were up to me, at Epcot, we'd still have Horizons. We'd still have the old world of motion, like shit that's way out of date.
Holy crap.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I get their perspective because people love this stuff and they don't, they probably, I think it's a mixture of the two of what you're saying, Bobby. I think it's a mixture of they don't want to lose Tower of Terror, and they do wish that they had just done something completely original for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
So I think it's both.
It's definitely both. And it's hard because, and this is going to kind of date me. Like, I remember when they initially were announcing that they were building Tower of Terror here in Florida, the Californians were livid because the concept for Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone, the whole storyboard of it is so awesome. And it takes place in California. And it's supposed to be this California thing in Hollywood. And for it to be in Florida first and not out there, I remember the outrage that people had, like the park fans had over this. I mean, this dates me, so this is years ago. I mean, I didn't even live in Florida when this happened, but I remember this because I was excited about this ride even being put into Florida. I was like, holy crap. And I'd never even been to Disney World, and I was excited about this ride. But like, it has a following. This ride, the story of it, the wholeness of it, the theming is so deep and so rich and so saturated of a ride. There are just, the fan base for it is huge. And then I remember when they announced they were putting it in California, and the Californians were just stupid excited. They were like, finally, you're bringing what they think is our ride to us because it's themed in old Hollywood. And so they're like, you're finally bringing it back home. And so they got their ride, and now they're taking their ride away from them.
Right.
I mean, I get it. Like, I totally understand. It's, like I said, if it happened here, I would have rioted. I'd have been like, are you kidding me? Hell no. Like, I'd have lost my shit. But
I guess I'm getting a new perspective from you guys because I don't think I have that level of attachment to the rides because I'm not a person that goes to Disneyland all the time or has the annual passes or, just has that connection. I'm not even originally from California, so I don't have that same level of connection. And so I guess I can get it from the way you guys explain it, why someone would be upset. Because to me, it's just a ride in the sense that it's not part of my DNA build. Like they get announced tomorrow that they're tearing up the Peter Pan ride and they're going to put a Spider-Man ride. And I'd be like, sweet. It's like, I just don't care enough about the rides that they do have there. They're like, the Matterhorn's gone. Now we're putting in the Incredible Hulkathon. I'm like, yes.
Oh my God.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, because
Bobby, people are going to burn you in effigy, dude. Seriously, you're talking sacrilegious shit, dude.
I totally get it. That there's a love for it, and they've held on to these rides because they're tradition and they rode them for however many years. And I get it from that perspective, but I'm just saying I didn't have that within me because I'm not one of those people that have gone year in, year out and can just go on a random, Wednesday night for a couple hours to go, ride the rides. And I don't have that sort of attachment to it. So I get it that it now, as you guys have sort of explained it makes more sense to me now why people were probably a little upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. My very first Disney ride in any Disney theme park. I mean, like first ride. I was 17, 18. First time to Disney World. First ride.
You hadn't been to Disney until you were 17 or 18?
I'm an Army brat. We moved around a lot. Okay.
Sorry, go on.
Was Tower of Terror.
Oh, wow.
We got to the park literally before it opened. We got there ass crack of dawn. We watched the rope drop. My brothers and I and my friend that I brought with us sprinted at full tilt to that ride. My parents were fucking in the dust. We were gone. That was my first Disney ride ever. Was Tower of Terror. So as I'm saying, people have connections to these rides. Like for me, that's very iconic to me. Mm-hmm. Plus, I love it. It's a great storyboard. I love the storyline for the whole thing. Anyways, but yeah, people get these attachments to these rides and these theme parks, and I understand. If it was here, I would have lost my ever-loving mind. But I mean, I get why they're upset, but at the same time, I understand why they're doing it. I understand why they chose it. I get it from so many other aspects. I'm like, it all makes sense to me. So,
I think So I think if I have never been to Disney World, and I think I would probably have a greater appreciation because just from the pictures I've seen and some of the ways that they've done the exact same rides that they have at the two locations, but they build it out in a better sort of way and makes it more of an experience at Disney World. I think I would probably gain a better love and appreciation for the Disney brand at that park because honestly, and again, I'm coming at it late because I think by the time I moved down to Southern California, I was probably already in my mid-20s. So I didn't grow up going to Disneyland or any of that kind of thing. But, okay, I know people are going to yell and scream when they hear me say this, but this is just my experience, and I get why it's different for you. But I honestly enjoy myself and have more fun at Universal Studios than I do at Disneyland. It's crazy to say, but it's and I mean, to me, it's more of an experience, I guess, at Universal than at Disneyland. It's just you just get on the ride, or there's you know what it is, but it's a different sort of animal. And I think that if I were to go to Disney World and go to a Disney proper, in the sense that it's bigger space and it's more elaborate, I think I would probably have more fun at that place.
No, I get it. I mean, I will say, hey, I don't work in the parks anymore, so I can say whatever at this point.
Say whatever
you want. Because I used to. But sure, I mean, the stuff that Universal's been doing lately with Harry Potter, and it's been incredible, dude. And the stuff that Disney has done lately, I've been a little like, what the fuck, guys?
It's been pretty lackluster, quite honestly. I mean, I think, it's...
the Harry Potter stuff has been amazeballs. So awesome. Now we have 2 lands of that here at these parks. So awesome. Wow. And they're incredibly good, connected by the Hogwarts Express. And you ride between the two. It's awesome.
It's brilliant. It's totally brilliant. God. You can go from one park to the other through the Hogwarts Express. I mean, for the love of God, exactly. Cool. It's mind blowing. Anyways, we are beating a dead pole.
Oh yeah, man, we should have made this the #1 news item. I was gonna say maybe the reason I don't care about this shit because I'm like, fuck though. I worked in attractions. The one attraction I worked at, it's closed now. So maybe I just have an attitude. I'm like, well, fuck all these other attractions. I don't care. My ride's closed.
I pulled shifts over at Tower of Terror. I used to work there a few times when I was older. Like, I have a connection.
But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the stuff.
Yeah.
We'll probably fly through the rest of the stuff.
Number 3.
Bobby, I'll probably turn most of this to you because you were actually at this panel. But at the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel at Comic-Con this year, it was announced. We had already heard this rumor, by the way, so it's not completely new news. But it was confirmed that indeed Ghost Rider is coming to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really tell us much, honestly, at the actual panel, and a little bit more came out after the panel in terms of who the character was that they were going to be showing, and indeed, it is the Robbie Reyes character who has the Dodge Charger that has the Hellfire with it, and his Ghost Rider isn't quite necessarily the same lineage as the other Ghost Riders that people know of in the Danny Ketch and in the Johnny Blaze. It's a little bit different, but it would fit in with this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the sense that this season they're supposed to be going a little bit darker because they've moved time slots to 10 o'clock, and so it allows them to kind of move into a different arena. And honestly, it was kind of good to hear because it was like, okay, maybe this is what this show needs because it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a very honestly weird animal because if you look at it in the world that we live in and exist in and watching TV and looking at ratings and everything, it does very poorly. I mean, in the ratings, it's not a powerhouse or a juggernaut. And if you talk to most people on the streets, they're like, what? Or I watched it for the first season and then I dropped out. But you go to Comic-Con and you would think it's like the number one show
Yeah.
on TV because people love it there. And I'm one of those people. I've honestly always loved the show and really have uh, an affinity for it for when it comes on to like I always make sure I watch it that night and everything. So for this news to kind of break there, it's such a good thing. And from a standpoint of them trying to maybe infuse new viewers or bring back some of the old ones, it's a good way in which to sort of maybe pull people back into it because Ghost Rider is a name that people have some familiarity with just because of the Nicolas Cage version that was out a few years ago. So they kind of get a concept of what that character is like, and so there would be curiosity to see what he's like on this show. And even though it's not within this story, I had read how they were also talking about the fact that now that the Inhumans movie is off the table for now in the Marvel universe, well, honestly, that's the thing. So Kevin Feige he was asked about the Inhumans, and he said we're still doing that. We just haven't placed it within where we're going to put it at, and it will be in that Phase 4 lineup somewhere. But they just haven't put it in any spot. And so from them not having it really placed anywhere, they were saying over on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. side that it kind of allows them to play a little bit more in that area to where you might even see some of the original Inhumans that people know of appear on the show in some capacity in some sort of way. So it's interesting where the direction of the show might go with this season being at a later time slot and to see some of the different things that they introduced at the season finale of last season with the LMDs, which for people that don't know is life model decoys, which is a big thing in the Marvel comics. They introduced the concept of that will be playing forth in this season. And now you have Ghost Rider and the possibility of more Inhumans showing up. So it's really starting to become a full-blown comic book show at this point. And hopefully it'll continue to build upon the things that they've sort of set, and people give it another shot and see what they think about it and maybe help it grow and attain a better audience this time around.
Cool. Yeah, I don't really have any background with Ghost Rider, and sadly I've given up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after the beginning of this past season. I haven't caught up, so sorry.
Yeah, I have zero knowledge on Ghost Rider. I didn't even see that Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Desire.
I had no desire to see it.
I just don't. But like, yeah, with S.H.I.E.L.D., I tried watching the season. I gave it a shot, and I couldn't keep with it. I couldn't. I gave up on it too. Which is funny because you would never have known that by the way I was reacting when I saw them going on the IMDb boat at Comic-Con.
Yeah, you're pretty excited.
No, absolutely.
Dude.
No, you would think you've seen every episode and you can recite all the storylines and be able to actually be a stand-in if one of the actors had to not work that day. I mean, you were like so buddy-buddy with them. It was just incredible.
Dude, when Clark Gregg acknowledged me, waved, smiled, and said hello to me, I almost lost my mind. I was like, Agent Coulson just acknowledged that I exist in the world. I was so ridiculously happy. I can't even begin. Like, it was like, oh my God, Agent Coulson just said hi to me. Yeah, it was pretty. I was fangirling hard.
And I will say for the record, I didn't like give up on this season out of like, oh, this show's not doing anything for me. It's more just my schedule. It didn't fit. I didn't fit it in.
Oh, see, for me, it just wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah.
And see, I'm actually it just wasn't doing anything for me this season. So I actually just dropped out because I couldn't hold with it and couldn't hang no more. Anyways.
I unabashedly love the show, and I know that people don't, and I understand it to a certain degree, but for me, it's just like I've glommed onto the characters, and I loved seeing them each week, and yeah, I like seeing what they go through, and at this point, it's just like one of those shows that is appointment watching for me. When it comes on that night, I definitely make sure to watch.
Yeah.
All right, couple more items to go.
Number 2.
We found out at the Marvel panel as well during Comic-Con, during the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 segment, who Peter Quill's father is. As we know, Kurt Russell's in the film. It turns out he is playing Ego, the Living Planet. Now, no one's necessarily surprised that Ego, the Living Planet is in the film. But the fact that Kurt Russell is playing Ego is a bit of a surprise. We find out in some of the footage that we saw that the planet has created for itself a human form. It's also pretty amusing that in the clip that, Drax does ask if he had created a penis for himself. And indeed he has. But anyway, so Ego the Living Planet and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Star-Lord's father. That's what we found out.
I feel like we should have premised this with a huge spoiler alert, everybody.
That's not really a spoiler. And in fact, James Gunn has come out to say that he doesn't consider it a spoiler.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like it is, though.
I mean, I guess, before the con, no one knew. So it felt like, are we going to find out in the movie? But now it seems like in marketing, everyone's going to know.
I know.
So that's Star-Lord's father.
Yeah, it's interesting that they went that route because James Gunn had already said previously that he was not going to follow the comics in terms of having the character of Jason be Star-Lord's father, Peter's father. So it was a big question of, well, who's it going to be? And everybody started speculating and giving theories. I even remember someone throwing out a theory like, wouldn't it be wild if, it was Ego? And then James Gunn has even said, if people throw out enough guesses, I'm sure they'll choose the right one at some point. So he just wanted to sort of get out in front of it and just put it out there so people could kind of get past that part and really concentrate on what the actual story of this volume 2 is, which we don't know specifically just yet. But it's interesting that that is the case and that it does differ from the comic books in that in the comics, Ego the Living Planet is just that. He's just a living planet. I don't think in any form or version or incarnation in the comics that he's ever created a humanoid body for himself. So this is, I think, specific for the film, but it's a way to make a living planet work in the context of a film. So I'm sure at some point, because it is James Gunn and because it is Guardians of the Galaxy and they can kind of get away with things, that we will see him in his living planet form at some point. But it's very interesting that they went that route.
I mean, the news here definitely isn't, for me, the news isn't, Kurt Russell's going to be his father, because I feel like as soon as they announced Kurt Russell was going to be in this film, everybody was like, oh my God, he's totally going to be Peter Quill's dad. Like, I feel like everybody kind of guessed that. It was really more like, wow, he's going to be Ego. That's interesting. Like, it just kind of threw everybody off. And I'm trying to think, and I can't even bring my head around it right now, but what's his name? I remember at the end of the first movie, it was like, his dad's such an asshole. So I'm like, what makes him such an asshole? Like, I'm curious to see what this will all entail later.
Yeah,
Yondu makes that comment.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm wondering. I'm like, what is? I don't know. It's just interesting.
And all the footage we saw for Guardians at the con looked great. I mean, there's no doubt that Baby Groot stole the show.
Yeah,
and interestingly, looked very much like his pop vinyl. But
just so adorable.
But yeah, he's pretty adorable. He's pretty awesome. And yeah, it all looks great. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe anything's been released to the public yet.
No. But and in regards to the Groot part, I did see something where James Gunn said that the baby Groot still is regular Groot, like is just in a small form.
In his mind,
like,
I'd seen the same thing.
So his age in his mind is the same age he would be if he
right
depleted.
He's just small.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I mean, that's kind of cool because that means he has all his memories. He has, I don't know, he has knowledge from however old he is. Just older than I'm sure we all think. Anyways.
Just very cute looking.
He looks awesome.
Just adorable.
He really does.
Just damn adorable.
Just every time he popped up on screen in Hall H, it was just, oh. Yeah. It was just the entire room. It was pretty amazing. All right, moving on to number 1, which we probably will have the least to talk about, but it's still number 1 here anyway.
Number 1.
We finally know for sure. We found this out at the very end of the Marvel panel when they went to go do a group photo. Kevin Feige announced that indeed Brie Larson will be Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel. We had seen her earlier in the day in Hall H for the Kong Skull Island panel. But yeah, she appeared very, very quickly at the end of the Marvel panel to join that group photo. And that was really it. That was all to say. I mean, obviously this movie is very early in pre-production. Really nothing to talk about it, yet. There's not much it's not like there's anything to see, of course. So, but yeah, we know for sure that Brie Larson will be Carol Danvers. Bobby, you were quite excited about it as I was sitting next to you.
Yeah, for sure. I was very excited because
I think you were like, "Oh my God, here it comes! Here it comes!"
Yes,
oh my God!
Because I knew, you just knew.
Wow,
and that energy was in the room. That people knew that was going to be the one more thing kind of thing for the end of Marvel's panel, because she had been rumored and. It was like if any place was going to be the place that we see that announcement made, it was going to be at Comic-Con. And I had been waiting for it, and then it was coming. And it was like, we got to get this group photo. And then goes, we got to add the newest member. And then he's just like, okay, here we go. And then he announced it, and it was just like icing on the cake. And for me, it's interesting because I read a lot of articles within the last week about, and it's inevitable because they do it every year. But it was like, who won Comic-Con, Marvel or DC? And my perspective, and I don't know because we didn't actually talk about it, David, but my perspective on that age-old question is that, honestly, it felt to me like DC won Comic-Con in the eyes of no one that was there. Or specifically no one that was in Hall H, because DC released all their footage online, for everything that they showed, and yet Marvel released nothing other than the Doctor Strange trailer. They didn't even show the scene that they showed in Hall H. But for me, it felt like the energy of people that were there in Hall H for the Marvel panel really got their quote unquote money's worth. They got treated to like a whole thing of stuff, from the beginning of showing the Black Panther cast to the Thor sketch and the variety show with the Ravagers, and just the light show with the Doctor Strange stuff, and then the final announcement of Brie Larson, and of course the Spider-Man footage. It felt like in that room that Marvel had basically been the showman that they have been, and just was like, here's all our stuff that we're going to be showing you, and it's just for you in this room, and no one else is going to see it, and people can go ahead and give that to DC, because it's almost like they're in a position where they need to have that seen by everyone, whereas Marvel can say, we'll show it to you when we're ready, because we already know that you're going to come see this stuff. So when we're ready to give it to you, that's when you'll get to see it, and not a minute before. And it's honestly crazy to me that it never leaked. Like, as far as I know, I don't think anyone got to see any of that stuff, not even for a second, like, which is insane. And it makes me think about, David, when we were doing one of the shows where we talked about how James Gunn had said that there'd been some new tech or something in regards to keeping stuff from being pirated. So I'm very curious as to if that was in play, and is that a reason as to why none of the Marvel stuff leaked online?
Yeah, I mean, I can get that perspective too for people who weren't there. It's like you see all this DC stuff coming out, Justice League, which we didn't expect to see that much, and Wonder Woman, which looked both incredible. So yeah, why would you not think that? Wow, man, look at all this shit that Warner Brothers and DC are doing. Like, it looks great, and we've seen very little from Marvel. So no, I get that perspective too. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, in the room, the Marvel panel was incredible. And the stuff was stuff like Spider-Man. I mean, I thought maybe we might see something from Spider-Man, but maybe not that much. And the presentation they did there in Doctor Strange that you talked about, like, it all looked great. I mean, I will say I kind of hate this whole, like, It feels like it has to be a fucking competition. Like, you know, during the Suicide Squad panel, David Ayer makes a point to be like, yeah, see, like DC or I don't know how he said it, DC or Warner Brothers owns Hall H. And I'm like, dude, you really have to go. Like, we don't have to do this. Like, this stuff looks great. The Marvel stuff looks great. Like, can't we just all get along?
Can't we just all get along?
Can't we all just get along?
It all looks good. This isn't a fucking competition. I mean, I know in business wise it kind of is, but you know what I mean. Like,
it should be for the fans. If you're fans, you should love it all,
right?
Because you want to see it all do well and you like it all. But there's always that angle, and they can't help but to play it up.
No, they can't.
It's clickbait as well.
It is.
You want to see.
There's no doubt that Marvel knows how to put on a Hall H panel, and so does Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers definitely. It's not like they skimped, you know. They put on a really good panel, and it was like 2.5 hours long. It was fucking long. But Marvel knows what they're doing, and you know they get the benefit too of ending the day, and it's like you're leading up into that. It was incredible. It was great to be there, and it's a bummer that it seems like next year there probably won't be a Marvel panel. You know, with D23, I guess happening the weekend before Comic-Con.
It's crazy.
I would put money on the fact that Marvel ain't going to be there, which is a bummer. And it'll factor into my decision on am I going to wait for Hall H? You know, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So because that's a big part of it. But I agree with you. Well, you know, if I had to pick a winner, Marvel knew what the fuck they were doing. Like it worked, and they put on a good show, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It's amazing. Like I think I put it on Twitter, and it's like it's been a week, and I can't stop thinking about that Spider-Man footage. Like, yes, of course, it's my favorite character, so I'm going to think about it. But it was so good, like the way that they are handling this character and being in high school, and that he's like, you know, it really does, and you'll hear it 1,000 times more, but it really does have this John Hughes sensibility to the movie, and it's just like they haven't done this before, and Marvel, as you said, knows what they're doing, and that's why Sony deferred to them for this film, and they're like, look, you guys obviously know your characters better than anyone else would. So give us what you got for what you want to do with Spider-Man, and we'll roll with it. And it looks like it's going to be something special and incredible. And I really hope that to me, that footage looks so well done that they should just release it, because there's no need to work on it a little bit longer to spruce up the effects or anything. It looked awesome. And
for Spider-Man, you're talking about?
Yeah, for Spider-Man.
Because there wasn't really even many effects in it.
Because
it was all like high school stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, they should just release that stuff, because it's really not anything that needs to be worked on. It's like you said, it's just high school stuff. So, but it was so cool, and I'm really hoping that Marvel at least releases one thing just to give people a little taste of what it was that got to experience.
But yeah, that wraps up our top 10. Real quick, you weren't able to join us in that last record that we did, Michelle, when we were out of Comic-Con. You were busy, doing your Sherlock thing.
Right. Yeah. That silly Sherlock thing.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But
there's an entire fandom, but it's cool.
Yeah. There's some people that watch that show. But anyway, really quick, you have seen some of that footage from Warner Brothers, like Wonder Woman and Justice League. What'd you think?
Yeah, I just recently watched that.
Yeah, I know. Like,
how recent?
How recent was that?
It was recent.
Anyway,
within a little while. No, so I'll go to Wonder Woman first. I think it looks great. I'm looking forward to the Wonder Woman story and seeing it kind of unfurled. I think it's overdue in a way. But I don't know. I'm actually a little mixed on it with Wonder Woman. I'm not saying bad, but maybe I'm pensive about it. That's what it is. I don't know. But then it's like I look at the Justice League trailer, what they have, and I'm hella in that. Like, I'm down. I'm super down with it. I mean, it is a little weird to see the Flash with a completely different actor, because I'm so used to looking at Grant Gustin every single week. So it is kind of weird, but I think it was a good call at the end of the day. Like I get it. Like I totally get it. And I think this other actor looks good. I don't even know his name because I do not have that information in front of me.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra. Oh, Ezra. Yeah, I think he'll do great. But yeah, just watching it, I was like, this looks. Yeah,
Have you seen him in anything
I'm
before?
really down. No, I don't think so.
You should really see Perks of Being a Wallflower. It's such a good movie.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it, but yeah, I've heard good
See
things.
that film. Anyway.
But, I don't know. There was just something about it. Like, it just kind of gave me all the fuzzies inside. I was like, yeah, this is going to be... I don't know. I think I like group movies. I think is what it really kind of comes down to a lot of times. I like seeing the team together and I like seeing how the team gets formed. And I don't know. It looks really good. Like I said, Wonder Woman looks good, but I don't know. There's just something about it that just kind of leans me in a weird. I don't know. I don't want to buy into it all the way yet, but I have a feeling that
watch it on a bigger screen or something.
Right. I have a feeling that this Halloween there's going to be a shitload of Wonder Womans walking around. Let me tell you, it's going to be
cool.
Costume number 1 this year is
I'm all for
Wonder
that.
Woman.
Yeah.
I could see it being classic and I can see it being new. I could see it being literally in any kind of format, but I'm telling you Wonder Woman is going to be costume of the year. Whereas like Harley Quinn was costume of the year last year, I think Wonder Woman is going to be costume of the year this year for chicks.
Yeah, that definitely won cosplay award for Comic-Con this year.
It really did.
Just in terms of numbers.
Totally.
Holy shit. I mean, that was expected. I mean,
it was
it's a
completely
relatively
expected.
easy cosplay to put together.
It is.
And yeah, it was a lot of that.
And the film is literally out this week, so it was
Yeah.
2 weeks out. Like
Yeah.
it was definitely going to be happening. So, but no, I'm looking forward to this stuff. The Doctor Strange. I mean, I was already down with it, but seeing this trailer, I was like, oh god, this is gonna be so amazing. Oh, Benedict, God bless you. Of which, man, I was always like, yeah, I like Benedict Cumberbatch. Like he's I like him as an actor. I think he's a decent looking guy. Seeing him in the panel though, I was like, mother of God, he's adorable. Like I never really had that thought, but I'm like, I totally get it now. I totally get why people are like, he's adorable because he is fucking adorable, dude. So, anyways, it would have been cool to have been to the Doctor Strange panel to have seen him there in that kind of a setting because it's a different mood. I'm almost guarantee you the mood is completely different between that panel and the Sherlock panel. So it would have been cool to have seen him in that one and then compared it to the Sherlock one and seen his demeanor kind of with those two characters. It actually did get brought up a little bit in the Sherlock panel.
I mean, Sherlock, I'm sure a panel in an atmosphere is probably a little more comfortable with.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to,
he was
to the Marvel panel where this is a little definitely newer to him.
right.
Yeah. He's probably like a rock star at the Sherlock panel.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
at the
you say
Marvel
that
panel.
this was the first year he's ever done the Sherlock panel.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
he did
It's
it
a
via
character
he did it via like Satellite before, I think.
Right, but it's a
yeah.
character that he's really comfortable with. Like this is a second skin to him almost. So, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, seeing the trailers that came out from Comic-Con. Yeah, I mean, part of me wishes I could have been in college with you guys to have seen them. It would have been amazing. I'm sure the feeling was just pure raw excitement and energy, and that would have been amazing to have seen them in that setting. But I mean, yeah. So, like I said, Justice League, stupid excited for. Wonder Woman, I'm cautious about. I'm not all in yet.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't wait.
Man.
Oh no, I mean, hey, you weren't into it. Like as into it, I should say. I mean, I saw
as
it.
into it.
I've been excited about a Wonder Woman film, but I didn't know what to expect, and then seeing the footage for me, and then just my reaction, I was just like, holy shit, like this looks fucking good. But hey, that's just me. And yeah, in terms of Hall H, we talked about this a little bit. I know when we did our podcast, our last show from Out There. And you're talking about you wish you could have been there Saturday. I mean, I gotta say, yeah, if we're all able to make it out there next year, I know I just hinted that hey, if Marvel's not there, maybe I won't do it, but I'm sure I will.
You're going. I like when you said that just now. I was like, I rolled my eyes. I was like, he's going.
But if we can do the Hall H thing again next year on Saturday, even if you're going to a bunch of panels where they're going to release all the footage anyway, it's still worth the experience.
Oh, totally.
Is what I'm getting at. I mean, the experience can't be beat. The energy in the room, the excitement. It doesn't matter even if Marvel had released all that stuff. It's still worth being there. With that said, I mean, if they, after you do it a couple of years, maybe you're like, okay, I've had that experience. But no, it's especially if you haven't done it before, you got to do it at least once. Yeah. And for those who haven't been to Comic-Con before and you think you might be able to go next year and you're like teeter-tottering, hey man, should I waste a day to get into Hall H on Saturday? I mean, first of all, you can definitely work it out where you're not wasting a day like we did. We all traded off in line and we took turns in line on Friday. So you can work it out so you're not just killing all of your Friday. And yes, you should try it. I mean, with that said, it's not like I want more people competing with us in line, but,
right.
but yes, it's worth the experience at least once.
Yeah. I mean, even just going for me on Sunday, and this is the panels that were Sunday. I mean, they have pretty decent, they have some pretty strong fandoms, but it's not like a day, it's not like Saturday. But what it is you go into this room and you're surrounded by people that they're your people. They get you. They get why you like what you like, and it's just this like connection that you kind of have with them, like, and even like I say, like, so the Sherlock panel was the first panel, and then it was a Supernatural panel, and then it was for the new 24. So, and then there was a Pokemon panel at the end of the day. So the room at the morning was kind of mixed. So you had Sherlock people and Supernatural people, and some people were both, and they were really excited. And it's one of those things where I'm not a supernatural person, but there were people in there that were just losing their minds, and they were so excited. And like, I got caught up in it because I'm like, while I'm not a supernatural person, I appreciate the fandom that it has, and I appreciate the people that love it. Like, I'm like, you let your freak flag fly, enjoy it. Like, I was losing my shit in Sherlock and just totally fangirling it out. And that's great. Like, and they were like, yep, you go, girl. You take your minute and you enjoy it. And then it's their turn. And it's like, you appreciate the fact that people have such a deep love and affection and appreciation for a show or a movie or what have you. And so it's cool. Like, it's your people. Like, they get you. They understand your appreciation. So when you're in this room, there's just this energy level that's just unprecedented. And I went on a Sunday, for God's sake. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't even imagine a Saturday when you're in there and there's people for DC and Marvel and this and that. And yeah, I mean, like, it's energetic and it's electric, and it's got to be just absolutely amazing to see it with those people because they're your people.
Yeah. No, it's pretty amazing. Bobby, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's why I was glad that you were able to make it out, you and Yasha, being the first time, because it's one of those things where over the years, my friends will always ask me after I come from Comic-Con, how was it? And it's like I can tell them about it, but unless you've actually experienced it, it's harder to really get and transfer the vibe of just how, I mean, it's kind of magical in the way that it is, honestly, because it's, like you said, it's thousands of people all on the same wavelength, essentially, and feeling the same sort of thing, and for 4 days, so it's such a fun time of the year. And I, in my head, was imagining when you got back to Orlando and people were asking you about it, describing it to them and not being able to fully convey it in a way that they could appreciate it, just because you got to experience it more so than just hearing about it. Because people will be like, oh, that sounds really cool, but you don't know how cool it actually is unless you've actually done it. And that's why I've always said, at least within the last few years, that even if you don't have a ticket, just if you're able to come down to San Diego during that time, you got to do it, because you'll get swept up in it as well. And then you'll want to try and get a ticket to try and get in there because it's so much fun.
Agreed. But yeah, we've gone on a little long, so we're going to get out of here. So yeah, as always, we'd love to hear back from anyone listening. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com with your questions and comments. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail. We may read it on the air. That's 407-308-5509. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Michelle Curry.
Thanks for listening, everybody.